Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I was born into a wealthy family, and I'm not going to lie. I know I had it way easier than most people. Some of the things that I consider challenges, some people may not be able to relate to because they have different lives for many reasons. My parents started a business earlier on when they were just friends and built it to a stage where generations after me would never have to worry about money. When I was 12, we lost my dad and elder brother to a car accident. It was so devastating. It was the worst thing to have ever happened in my family. This left only my mom, my twin sister, and myself. When we were younger, my sister and I were inseparable. We loved each other so much and did everything together. We particularly liked pranking people with our identity. We were identical twins, so it was very easy to pull off. No two people are the same, no matter how identical they look. Proof positive, my sister and me. When we lost our dad and brother, we both took it differently. It took a toll on her. She was never the same after that. I tried to help her. It was like we were thrown into the sea and I could see her drowning, but I was learning to swim at the time. I couldn't help her, and I didn't know how to. She became a shadow of herself and was angry at the world. Seeing her suffer like that made me want to be so much better, so at least I could help her. But she shut me out too. My mom had to mourn 3 of our family members instead of 2 because we couldn't recognize my sister anymore. She wasn't easy to be around and started to keep lousy company, which made it worse for her. Her new friends only liked her for her money, and I think she knew that, but she would much rather have superficial relationships. I could tell she had built a giant wall to prevent herself from getting hurt again. When we turned 16, my mom tried to force her to go to therapy, but she refused. I offered to go to therapy with her, but she made me the enemy, saying I thought I was better than her and didn't need my pity. She said she didn't want anything to do with me and I should behave like we didn't know each other because her family had died as far as she was concerned. That hurt really bad. I couldn't understand why she hated me. Several times I skimmed through our childhood and the incident where we lost our father and brother to see if I may have hurt her without knowing. Each time I came up with nothing. I couldn't figure my sister out. Besides the fact that she wasn't talking to me, something scared me even more. It was that I was progressing and leaving her behind. I knew she would hate me even more over the years. I was successful, and she had nothing to show for it. So many times I denied myself some opportunities to slow down, hoping my sister would catch up. My mom, who noticed this, quickly called me out on it one day. She told me that my sister and I were 2 different people and we were not kids anymore. She reminded me of all the times she taught us that actions had consequences. She said that my sister and I had made life choices and I couldn't blame myself for my sister's choices. It was very painful for my mom to tell me all those things as I could see the tears well up in her eyes as she tried her best to compose herself. My mom was the strongest person I had ever met in my entire life. When my dad and brother died, she mourned them and carried on taking care of the family and their business. I knew that it wasn't easy for her, and so many times I would catch her crying. She doesn't know this. And when she noticed one of us coming, she would wipe her tears and be present in that moment for us. I owe my mom everything. She made me into who I am today. My sister and I was supposed to learn the ropes of the business so we could handle it when she retired. But my sister had no interest in doing the work. All she did was squander the money on trivial things without knowing how to make some money for herself. My mom started to regulate her expenses, so they had a big fight. It was bloody. My sister said the most hurtful things to my mom, and when I tried to stop her, she came at me and beat me. Our staff had to stop her from doing any more damage. That weekend, she stole a massive amount of money, talking about millions of dollars, and ran away. My mom wanted to find her and arrest her because she was so upset. However, after she spoke to our uncle, who happened to be her confidant, she let it go but removed every access my sister had to our money. And from then on, she had only one child. I knew my mom wasn't joking when she had a series of meetings with our legal counselor and changed the will and documents. I tried to stop her from doing anything harsh, but she said she was not just doing it for me, but also protecting all that she and my dad had built over the years. My mom recently passed. She had cancer. Before she died, I already had control over the company to a great extent. She intensified her training once she discovered she had cancer a few years back. I'm still numb that I'll never see my sweet mom again in this life. It feels like she went on a long trip and would be back soon. I can't bring myself to shut down our family house since no family is living there anymore. I have my own apartment, and our family house has too many good and bad memories. I also can't let all the people working there lose their jobs. Many of them have been with us for years. I got a call from my housekeeper that my sister had arrived and she was staying in her old room. I have mixed feelings because I'm happy, sad, angry, and anxious all at the same time. I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that she has returned to her senses and that I can finally have my sister back. I'm going to see her tomorrow. I drove to the house in the morning. My sister looked like a stranger. Her style had changed, and I could barely recognize her. There was a hint of sadness in her eyes when I saw her. We no longer had anything in common, and there was a very awkward silence. I needed to figure out what to speak about or how to converse with her. I asked her what she had been up to all these years, but she didn't give a concrete answer. She said she was sorry for not coming to our mom's burial, but she was here now and hoped it was enough. Over the next few days, it was still a little weird, but I was adjusting to having her around. Honestly, it was better than not having anyone. I was ready to hang on to whatever family I had left. She wanted to know about our family business and how it was doing. I was very open about it because I thought she was a part of the family and deserved to know. After all, we were both supposed to run it together. I was proud of what I had done with the company, so I gladly told her everything. After 3 weeks, she said she had to go. It was strange because it seemed like she wanted to be a part of our family again and join the business. I couldn't persuade her to stay, and she wouldn't give me her address. It hurt me that her plan was to breeze into my life like she never left and leave whenever she wanted. The following day, I received a letter saying that I had been charged to court. It was something about hoarding inheritance that was rightfully my sister's. That hit me hard. Not because of the letter in itself, but because I felt betrayed. I had so much hope that my sister was back. I didn't know that she only came to spy on my liberty. I immediately called my lawyer and he asked me to get my supporting documents. Of course, my birth certificate was gone, along with some important documents from my parents' study. This was the stupidest thing that everyone had ever done. How exactly did she think she was going to win this? Everyone around us knew who we were. At this point, I don't think she was in her right mind. My sister was just looking for some way to get cash. I called her to ask what she really wanted. She told me that she had destroyed my birth certificate. She had also tried to authorize a huge sum of money to be transferred to an unknown account. Luckily, huge sums like that would only be disbursed with confirmation. For the first time, I saw the disadvantage of looking exactly like someone else. Except if you were very close to us, you wouldn't be able to tell. Her little stunt didn't go far, as there were various ways to prove that I was who I was. I could always get another birth certificate. I then understood why my mom removed her from having a direct access to our money. We came to find out that my sister was in a lot of debt from living a life she couldn't afford. It still baffles me that she thought destroying my birth certificate could have done anything to favor her. Her master plan wasn't so master this time. I'm really cutting her off. I should have known that she showed up for a reason which couldn't have been because she missed me or wanted to make things right. I will let the law deal with her and stop wishing things were different. NTA, your sister doesn't seem smart at all. Her plan was so shabby even a 5-year-old could smell a rat. NTA, I'm sorry you lost most of your family, and the remaining one isn't worth it. I have severe ADHD and dyslexia, and while I did pass this test through a corrector, forgive me if there are any grammar or syntax mistakes. Due to my ADHD, oftentimes I forget to do small tasks that need to be done around the house. Since I really despise dirty places, I put a whiteboard on the fridge where I write the tasks that need to be done that day, week, and if I've done them yet. It is the mechanism I found works best for me to actually do whatever I need. It's understandable that people ask, so I told her. I assumed she'd just understand and let it go. However, that was not the case at all. She snorted and said that if I couldn't remember chores, I was nothing more than a man-child. Look, anyone can think whatever they want from me, but I will not accept anyone treating me like that inside my house. This is something that is still a sore spot for me. My friends know that. So I asked both her and Dave to get the hell out of my house. Well, they did. Apparently, Dave thinks I'm an AH for the way I treated his girlfriend. The rest of my friends told me she was way out of line, but Dave is a good friend of mine, and maybe I should have thought my words through. That does make me feel guilty. AITA here? NTA. But she definitely is, and so is Dave. I've struggled with ADHD my whole life, so I know exactly how it feels to have someone belittle you like this. It's not okay in any situation, and especially not when you're hosting her in your home for the first time. The audacity she has to say something like that in the first place is truly astounding. Your buddy Dave is also an AH for thinking that his girlfriend wasn't totally in the wrong. You handled the situation perfectly. I certainly would not have. NTA, I just the other day finally got around to ordering a whiteboard for chores. Previously, I just jotted it down a napkin or notepad what I had to do for the week. The problem is I had so many lists floating around, I ended up grabbing one of the previous ones and started going about it. Then I was wondering why I had put something I had already done in the spring on it. Also, house ownership living is vastly different in the amount of crap you have to do compared to apartment living. I'm wondering if the girlfriend has never had to run, upkeep a household by herself. My husband and I are in our late 40s and got married a little before COVID. This is both of our second marriages, and surprise, surprise, not having children due to our age. We each have 2 kids from our previous marriages. My husband has a daughter who is away at college and a 16-year-old son who lives with his mom, mostly, but sometimes with us. Our house is my husband and I and my two kids, who are 14 and 12. On with the actual event. My husband had a great uncle who recently passed away. He inherited his gently used GMC SUV. I don't know a ton about cars. I know the car is a 2017, and I've seen used ones with low mileage go for nearly $20,000 online, sometimes more. Here is the issue we're having. Remember how I said my husband's son is 16? My husband thinks the car would be a great gift to him. He plans on giving him the car regardless of how I feel. I think the fair thing to do would be to sell the car for as much as we can and divide that money up equally between the 4 kids. That way, everyone can benefit and not just my stepson who happens to be 16. My husband has been mean to me about this. He is literally telling me I have zero say. It was his uncle, and the car was given to him, not the family. He said his son has an after-school job and he needs the car to be less of a stress on him. I and his ex, we all sometimes have to chauffeur him to and from work since he has no car. He is 16. If he gets 4 to 5 grand from the sale of the GMC, that is more than enough money for him to buy a starter car that can take him around town and to work. My husband agrees that he technically can do that, but he's not going to because he wants his son to have this car. I'm stressed because he is basically telling me that he's going to do what he wants and I don't get a say. Aren't a husband and wife supposed to come to an agreement together? He told me if I have a relative die, we will do whatever I want with the inheritance and he will not interfere one bit. I have major issues with this logic, though. He even went as far as to say that we can sell the car and split the money up amongst the kids. But now he will go and buy an equal value car for his son out of our joint bank account. I thought it was a jerk thing to say, but am I the AH all along? I'm the a-hole, I get it. I'll stop bugging him about it. YTA. Your husband is right. It was his uncle, and his uncle left him the car. The car was not left to your husband and you. He can do with the car as he pleases, even if you don't agree with it. I'm going to come at this from another angle as well. I'm part of a blended family. My stepsister's grandmother passed away and left my stepsister something in the will. Her grandmother was close to my little one and me, but I never expected to be included in the will or have my daughter mentioned in the will. I could not even imagine expecting my stepsister give something she inherited because of fairness. I'd never expect it from my husband either. The SUV was left to him, so it is his to do with as he wants. My husband's sister got a dog in 2021, a Jack Russell Terrier. Because of her horrible time management and lack of planning her day-to-day life, she only took care of the dog for the first couple of months of having her, but after that, she'd either dump the dog to her parents or my husband and I. My husband and I have a dog of our own, and she's very friendly with sister-in-law's dog. We adore dogs, so we didn't exactly mind about having an extra dog at our house, but we were just bothered with sister-in-law's entitled attitude of refusing to take responsibility for a choice she made. We had talked to her about that multiple times, and she always made excuses that she's struggling right now financially, and once she gets a proper job with proper work hours, she'll get the dog back. She got that job and got the dog back, but only for 2 to 3 months, and then kept dumping her dog to either us or her parents again, and only took her to her place once or twice a week. Let's go to now. In July, sister-in-law announced she'll be moving to Australia for good, And that took us by surprise because she hadn't made any mention of moving to another country before. After we talked about that, we asked, what about the dog? She said that she's really sad she can't take the dog with her, but Australia is really strict on animal laws and moving animals there, so she'll have to take a lot of action that she can't afford at the moment, so the dog would stay in Italy with us. She said she wishes she could take the dog with her, but she agreed to change the dog's info on the microchip and have us adopt her dog. I can't say I was surprised. And to be honest, my husband and I didn't trust her to have the dog with her since she's been really irresponsible with that. So a few days ago, she came to Italy to visit us and announced she'll have the dog do all the necessary procedures so she can bring her to Australia with her. My husband and I reminded her that the dog is now adopted by us, and after all, we don't trust her to be responsible with her. She thought we were joking, but we insisted we are not giving the dog back. She was mad at us, and my in-laws, aka husband's parents, believe we are TA for insisting to keep the dog from her instead of giving her back to sister-in-law because, in their words, she got the dog originally. You wouldn't have the dog if it wasn't for her, and the dog is hers whether you agree with her choices on how to take responsibility or not. We are still planning to refuse to give her the dog. AITA? NTA. She officially gave up her dog's ownership when changing the chip info. Also, morally, the poor dog was mistreated by her. So again, you're only doing what's best for the dog. I'd be careful, though, that she doesn't try to actually steal the dog back.